Top 10 poorest countries in the world. Today, we're going to explore what life is like for millions of people living in the world's 10 poorest countries. Forget everything you think you know, because we're going right to the heart of these nations to see the reality on the ground. We're talking about places where getting a clean glass of water is a daily challenge, where a single meal is a victory, and where the human spirit is tested every single second. This isn't just about statistics or numbers on a screen. It's about real people, real families, stories of resilience in the face of unbelievable hardship. We're starting a journey across continents, from the heart of Africa to the shores of the Indian Ocean and the conflict zones of the Middle East. I want you to see the vibrant markets, the dusty streets, the makeshift homes, faces of the people who call these places home. They face challenges that most of us can't even imagine, yet they find ways to smile, to work, to hope, to survive against all odds. We're starting our journey in South Sudan, the world's youngest country. Imagine a nation born just over a decade ago, right here in East Central Africa, landlocked and surrounded by challenges. The economy here is one of the most underdeveloped on the entire planet. Most people, like over 80% of the population, live in extreme poverty, meaning they survive on less than $1 a day. That's less than the price of a candy bar in many places. The primary source of income is subsistence agriculture. People grow just enough food to feed their own families, and even that is a constant struggle due to unpredictable weather and ongoing conflict. Daily life here is a testament to human endurance. Access to basic services like healthcare is incredibly limited. Clean water is incredibly limited. Education is incredibly limited. Imagine your morning routine starting with a long walk, sometimes miles, just to collect water that might not even be safe to drink. Schools are often simple structures, sometimes a teacher under a tree, and many children have to work instead of getting an education. The people here are fighting for a better future for their children every single day. Next, we're jumping just south to Burundi, a small, landlocked nation often called the heart of Africa. As we zoom in on the map, you can see it's tiny compared to its neighbors, Rwanda, Tanzania, the DRC. Despite its beautiful landscapes of hills and mountains, Burundi faces immense economic challenges. It consistently ranks as one of the poorest countries in the world, with a staggering percentage of its population living below the poverty line. The economy is overwhelmingly agricultural, coffee, tea being the main cash crops. Life in the towns and rural areas of Burundi is a daily grind. In the capital, Bujumbura, you'll see bustling markets where people sell everything from fresh produce to second-hand clothes. But even here, the infrastructure is strained. Outside the city, life is even tougher. Most Burundians are subsistence farmers, working small plots of land by hand to grow beans, corn, cassava. A bad harvest, which can be caused by drought or floods, can mean the difference between eating and going hungry for an entire family. It's a life lived on the edge, completely dependent on the whims of nature. Now we're moving directly north of the DRC to the Central African Republic, or CAR. As the name suggests, it's located right in the heart of the continent. If you look at the map, you'll see it's landlocked by Chad, Sudan, South Sudan, Cameroon. This nation is incredibly rich in natural resources, diamonds, gold, uranium, timber, but it is tragically one of the poorest and most unstable places on Earth. Decades of conflict and political turmoil have left the country in a state of perpetual crisis. Daily life for most people in the CAR is defined by insecurity and a lack of basic services. Outside the capital, Bangui, the government has very little control, and armed groups often rule. This means that for millions, simple activities like going to the market, farming their land, or sending their children to school can be incredibly dangerous. Access to healthcare is almost non-existent in many regions, and treatable illnesses can become life-threatening. The constant threat of violence has forced millions of people to flee their homes. The infrastructure is in ruins, roads are often impassable, especially during the rainy season. Electricity and running water are luxuries that only a tiny fraction of the population in the capital can access. Despite this bleak picture, the culture of the Central African Republic is diverse and resilient. The population is made up of many different ethnic groups, each with its own language and traditions. We're leaving Africa for a moment and heading to the Middle East, to the southern tip of the Arabian Peninsula. This is Yemen, bordering Saudi Arabia and Oman, with a long coastline along the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. For years, this country has been embroiled in a devastating civil war, which has created what the United Nations has called the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Before the conflict, Yemen was already the poorest country in the region. The war has pushed it to the brink of total collapse. Daily life in Yemen is a relentless struggle for survival. The ongoing conflict has destroyed critical infrastructure: hospitals, schools, water systems, roads. This has led to a catastrophic breakdown of public services. Millions are facing famine, not because there isn't food in the world, but because the conflict and blockades make it nearly impossible to get it to the people who need it. The economy has been shattered, with millions losing their jobs and livelihoods, pushing families into absolute destitution. Clean water is incredibly scarce, which has led to one of the worst cholera outbreaks in modern history. Hospitals that are still functioning are overwhelmed and lack basic supplies like medicine, fuel for generators, and even gloves. Malnutrition among children has reached terrifying levels, with millions suffering from stunting and wasting that will affect them for the rest of their lives. We're heading back to Africa, to the southeastern coast. This is Mozambique. Let's find it on the map. Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Eswatini. Mozambique is a country of breathtaking natural beauty and immense natural resources, including massive offshore natural gas reserves. However, despite this incredible wealth, a large portion of its population lives in deep poverty. The country is still recovering from a long and brutal civil war that ended in 1992 and is now facing new challenges from natural disasters and an insurgency in its northern region. Daily life for many Mozambicans, especially in rural areas, is a struggle. The economy is largely based on agriculture, most people farming small plots of land to grow crops like cassava, corn, cashews. The country is extremely vulnerable to climate change. It's frequently hit by powerful cyclones and floods that can wipe out an entire season's harvest in a single day, destroying homes and infrastructure and pushing thousands of people deeper into poverty. This constant cycle of destruction and rebuilding makes long-term development incredibly difficult. Let's move inland from Mozambique to its neighbor, Malawi. As we locate it on the map, you can see it's a small, landlocked country dominated by a massive lake, Lake Malawi, which takes up about a third of its length. Known as the warm heart of Africa because of the friendliness of its people, Malawi is also one of the world's least developed countries. Its economy is heavily dependent on agriculture, which employs the vast majority of the population and makes the country extremely vulnerable to weather-related shocks. Daily life in Malawi is, for most, a rural experience. People live in villages, often in simple mud brick homes with grass-thatched roofs. Life revolves around the seasons of planting and harvesting. The main crop is maize, which is the staple food. A poor harvest due to drought or floods, which are becoming more frequent, can lead to widespread food shortages and hunger. Access to electricity, clean water, and healthcare is very limited in these rural areas, and life expectancy is low. The economic status of Malawi is a significant challenge. The country has few mineral resources to export, so its economy relies on agricultural products like tobacco, tea, and sugar. Now we're heading to the giant at the heart of Africa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC. So look at the map. This country is huge, actually the second largest in Africa, and it's bordered by 9 other nations. The DRC is arguably the most resource-rich country on Earth. Cobalt, copper, diamonds, gold, coltan. Coltan is like essential for making our cell phones and laptops. But in a tragic paradox, its people are among the poorest in the world. Decades of brutal colonial rule, dictatorship, corruption, and conflict. The challenges here are just on a massive scale. The eastern part of the country has been plagued by conflict for over 2 decades, involving numerous armed groups leading to one of the world's most complex and long-standing humanitarian crises. Millions have been killed, and millions more have been displaced from their homes. This chronic instability makes it impossible to build infrastructure, provide services, or establish a functioning economy in many regions. For many in the East, life is a daily struggle against violence, displacement, and extreme poverty. Daily life varies dramatically across this vast country. From the heart of Africa, we're moving to its easternmost point, the Horn of Africa. This is Somalia. Somalia has the longest coastline on mainland Africa, stretching along the Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden. For decades, the name Somalia was synonymous with civil war, famine, and anarchy. After the collapse of its central government in 1991, the country descended into chaos. But today, while still facing immense challenges, Somalia is a nation slowly, painstakingly trying to rebuild itself from the ashes. Daily life in Somalia is still incredibly difficult and often dangerous. The security situation remains volatile, with the extremist group Al-Shabaab controlling parts of the country and carrying out attacks even in the capital, Mogadishu. The country is also on the front lines of climate change, experiencing cycles of devastating droughts and floods that wipe out livestock and crops, leading to widespread food insecurity and displacement. Millions of Somalis depend on humanitarian aid to survive. The economic issues are profound. Decades of conflict destroyed the formal economy. In its place, a resilient and innovative informal economy has emerged. Somalia has one of the most active mobile money systems in the world, allowing people to transfer funds and make payments with their phones, even in remote areas. The main drivers of the economy are livestock, camels, sheep, goats, which are exported to the Middle East, and remittances from Somalis abroad are essential. Somali culture is ancient, unique, and incredibly strong. Somalis share a common language, religion, Islam. Against all odds, there are signs of progress. In Mogadishu, you can see construction everywhere as people rebuild homes and businesses. The Somali diaspora is returning, bringing investment and skills. Now we're flying to the coast of West Africa to Liberia. Let's find it on the map. It's bordered by Sierra Leone, Guinea, Côte d'Ivoire. Liberia has a unique history. It was founded in the 19th century by freed slaves from the United States, which is reflected in its flag and its capital city, Monrovia, named after U.S. President James Monroe. This history, however, did not prevent the country from descending into two brutal civil wars that lasted from 1989 to 2003, which completely devastated the nation. Today, Liberia is at peace, but the scars of war are still visible everywhere, both on the buildings and in the society. The poverty statistics are stark. A large majority of the population lives below the poverty line. The wars destroyed the country's infrastructure, roads, power plants, and water systems, and much of it has yet to be rebuilt. Formal unemployment is extremely high, so most people rely on the informal economy, such as petty trading or small-scale farming, to get by. Daily life in the towns and rural areas is a challenge. In Monrovia, you see the energy and hustle of a population trying to make a living, but also the struggle with overcrowding and a lack of basic services. Outside the capital, life is even more basic. Many rural communities are cut off during the rainy season when the unpaved roads become impassable rivers of mud. Access to education and healthcare is limited, and the country was hit hard by the 2014 Ebola outbreak, which further weakened its fragile health system. The people of Liberia are known for their incredible resilience and hope for the future. After so much conflict, there is a deep desire for peace and progress. The culture is a mix of indigenous traditions and the influences of the Americo-Liberians. English is the official language, but there are over 20 indigenous languages spoken. Music and storytelling are important parts of life, and you can feel a powerful spirit of survival and a determination to move forward. For our final stop, we're heading to a truly unique place, the massive island nation of Madagascar, off the southeastern coast of Africa. Let's look at it on the map. It's the fourth largest island in the world, and its isolation has resulted in incredible biodiversity. About 90% of its wildlife is found nowhere else on Earth, including its famous lemurs. But despite this natural treasure, Madagascar is one of the world's poorest countries, and its people face a unique set of challenges. Daily life for the majority of the Malagasy people is tied to the land. The economy is predominantly agricultural, with rice being the staple food and the foundation of the culture. Vanilla. Madagascar is the world's largest producer, cloves, coffee. However, the country is extremely vulnerable to natural disasters. It's frequently hit by cyclones from the Indian Ocean. The southern part of the island is currently experiencing a severe drought and famine linked to climate change. The economic struggles are deep-rooted. Political instability and corruption have hindered development for decades. Deforestation is a massive problem. Centuries of slash-and-burn agriculture have destroyed much of the island's original forests. This has led to severe soil erosion that turns rivers red and chokes an already struggling agricultural system. This environmental degradation threatens not only the people's livelihoods but also the unique wildlife that could be a source of tourism revenue. The culture of Madagascar is a fascinating blend of Southeast Asian and East African influences, reflecting the origins of its first settlers. The Malagasy language has Austronesian roots. Customs like the complex funeral traditions, such as the famarihana or turning of the bones, are unique to the island. the island's geography is incredibly diverse, from rainforests on the east coast to deserts in the southwest and a high central plateau. The future of Madagascar depends on finding a balance, protecting its one-of-a-kind environment while creating economic opportunities for its growing population. It's a fragile paradise where the struggle for human survival is inextricably linked to the survival of its unique natural world. So, we just traveled through 10 of the world's poorest nations. We saw the struggles, the challenges, and the incredible, unbreakable spirit of the people who live there. It's easy to see these numbers and statistics on a screen and feel distant, but every single person we saw today is fighting a battle most of us can't even imagine. They're fighting for clean water, for a meal for their kids, for a chance at an education, for peace. Their reality is a world away from ours, but their hopes and dreams are exactly the same. And that's why we made this video, not to make you feel sad, but to make you aware. The first step to changing anything is understanding it. The challenges these countries face are massive: conflict, climate change, corruption, lack of infrastructure. But the one thing they all have in common is people with immense potential who are just waiting for a chance. A chance to build, a chance to learn, a chance to live without fear and hunger. And that's a chance everyone on this planet deserves. So what can you do? Start by learning more. Share this video so more people understand the reality. Support organizations that are on the ground doing the hard work, providing food, healthcare, education. Every little bit helps. The world's problems can seem overwhelming, but they are solved by people helping people.